So it looks like this trade deadline is just the gift that keeps on giving. I am still recovering from the absolute missile that was dropped on the NBA world yesterday. I'm at the store and I start getting tagged by all these people in our community telling us to go live. And I was a little bit confused. I was like, what, did we make a trade? And it turns out, no. The De'Aaron Fox domino that we had been waiting to fall for about the last week and a half or so has finally fallen. De'Aaron Fox has been traded to the San Antonio Spurs in a 3-team deal with the Chicago Bulls. The Kings are sending De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin to the San Antonio Spurs. The Kings are receiving Zach Lavine, a guy here that is, I'm sure, a nice guy that I respectfully have no idea who he is, nor am I going to attempt to pronounce his name, as well as 3 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks, which we will get to later. The Bulls are receiving Zach Collins, Trey Jones, and Kevin Huerter, and they are getting back their own 2025 pick via the Spurs. So there's going to be a lot of conversations about what this is going to mean for the San Antonio Spurs. Obviously, the main one being that Victor Wembanyama now has an all-star level point guard. And this is really going to be interesting for the overall team dynamic, I feel like, because we were under the impression that we were going to have to wait for guys like Stephon Castle and, guys like that to mature before we would really see anything out of this team. This is going to change our expectations of the Spurs over the next few seasons, because now they have a really good player in De'Aaron Fox, someone that is able to play alongside someone like Victor, someone who's averaging 25 points per game this season. And overall, that's just a really solid pickup for them, especially considering the fact that they did not have to give up Stephon Castle or Devin Vassell to make it happen. And so that's number one. Number two, the Sacramento Kings. I have no idea what's going on here. This is now the second day in a row where a trade has happened and I have no idea why the team that made it did. Now, obviously, you wanted to trade De'Aaron Fox and get off of him because he was unhappy with the direction of the franchise after the firing of Mike Brown. And so that part all makes sense to me. Getting back a return of Zach Lavine does not really make the most sense to me, because when you consider the overall makeup of the roster now, De'Aaron Fox was a player that you could have traded and gotten back another really good player or some really good pieces if you didn't want another all-star caliber player to possibly help in the overall restructuring of this team now that De'Aaron Fox would have been gone. But instead, they traded for another player that I don't feel really fits the mold or fits the void that was going to be left by De'Aaron Fox leaving. The potential starting lineup now is probably going to be Malik Monk at the point, Zach at the 2, DeRozan at the 3, Keegan Murray at the 4, and Sabonis at the 5. There's really no telling what that starting lineup is going to do. And I don't feel like that is a move that really drastically changes the trajectory of the team. And so it's really interesting that they would even do this, especially considering the fact not just going beyond overall just getting Zach Lavine as a player and the implications of that. The draft picks, which I mentioned earlier, have a lot of restrictions attached to them, which makes them basically worthless to this franchise as of right now. Because at first glance, you see, okay, Zach Lavine, 3 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks, that's kind of insane. But when you look further at the actual picks that they got, it's craziness. So the first pick in order is the 2025 Charlotte pick, which is top 14 protected, lottery protected. So they're not going to be able to keep that because Charlotte is going to be in the lottery. And so that is going to be converted into 2 second-round picks instead. The second one is the 2027 San Antonio pick, which is not going to be good, assuming that De'Aaron Fox and Wemby pan out. By 2027, I assume that they're going to be towards the top of the Western Conference, or at least making their way up there in the process of doing so. And so you're not really going to be getting that much value out of that pick either. And then you have the 2031 pick via Minnesota, which who knows at this point. Franchise players are being traded left and right, so who knows? It might be traded by then. So who really knows what that pick is going to turn into? That's really the point that I'm getting at here. The only pick that you really got any value out of is that Minnesota pick, and you don't even know what is going to happen with it. In addition, the 3 second-round picks, 2025 via Charlotte, 2028 via the Nuggets, and 2028 via yourself. You got your own pick back in this deal. And so, as I said before, you're doing all of that, and you have Zach Lavine on the team now. I don't know what this team is going to look like. As I said before, that's probably going to be the starting lineup: Monk, Lavine, DeRozan, Keegan Murray, Sabonis. But what does that even do? I'm so confused as to what exactly this trade was supposed to accomplish, because you didn't really make any improvement to the roster. Zach Lavine is a better spot-up shooter. He's a better three-point shooter, obviously, than De'Aaron Fox. But worse playmaker, somewhat comparable rebounder. So you basically just traded De'Aaron Fox for a slightly modified version of the same player. Like, this is so confusing to me, and you didn't even really get any other assets back from this deal that would justify you doing that. And so it doesn't really make that much sense to me. Obviously, this is still initial thoughts. Things may change. They may not be done yet. We'll see. But the biggest losers, without a doubt, the Chicago Bulls every single time. How does this keep happening? The Chicago Bulls traded Zach Lavine and in return got back Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and one first-round pick, which, by the way, was their own. They didn't get any new first-round picks out of this deal. Trey Jones, obviously, quality player. You can possibly use him or, flip him into something else. Kevin Huerter, quality player as well. Zach Collins is sort of up and down here and there. Overall, you would expect to get more than this in return for someone like Zach Lavine, who is having the season that he is having right now. Zach Lavine, I must remind you, averaging 24 points, shooting 51% from the field, 45 from 3 on over 7 attempts a game, having easily his best season since his All-Star year in 2022, or since his last All-Star year, I should say. And you get back basically Trey Jones and friends and one pick that you owned to begin with. This is so crazy to me. By the way, this only confirms to me that the Golden State Warriors could have absolutely gotten a deal done for Zach Lavine and possibly Vooch, who is also going to be on the move. There's no way they're holding on to him past the deadline, which is Thursday. We're still going to be looking out for what's going on there. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe some crazy trade that we don't even know yet is manifesting right now as we speak. I don't even know at this point. Nothing is off limits. Nobody's untradeable. Anything can happen. If Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis can be traded for each other with neither of them requesting a trade, anything is possible. And so we'll have to see what happens there. As soon as the opportunity presented itself for you to go out and even get Zach Lavine, you should have been just right on it. And even though he was having this fantastic year and we thought that the value of him was going to go way up because of that in comparison to what the Bulls were asking for or what teams were offering during the offseason, the fact that his perceived value went up that much and this is still the return that the Bulls got, there's no excuse anymore. This is going to be a whole other separate conversation once the trade deadline passes, because I have absolutely no faith in this team making any sort of deal before the deadline. There's no deal available anymore as of right now that makes sense. It's over. De'Aaron Fox, as I said before, De'Aaron Fox is a Spur. The implications of that are going to be insane, mainly from the point guard position. Obviously, Stephon Castle is going to have another elite point guard to kind of be mentored by. Chris Paul is now going to, I assume, become the backup point guard for the rest of the season, which is probably going to be his last. He only signed a 1 year. Like, this team is in such a good spot right now. They absolutely cooked today, and this deadline has absolutely cooked today. I just realized I've had this Bucks Grizzlies game on this TV for the entire game, and I've seen maybe 10 seconds of it. There's 3 minutes left and it's a 2-possession game and I don't even care. Like, that's the point that we're at in this season. This is just craziness. I can't even keep up. Those are just my initial thoughts. I'm probably missing a bunch of stuff. It'll probably come to me after it's uploaded. But with all that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell to be notified when I upload. Comment down below what you want to see next. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.